Okay. New students from that class, one students. We're just missing 3 students. So I can get going. So welcome to community. I've got 2 screens here, so I'll have to go back and forth. I'm Professor Marvel, teaching your community class. Okay, so I'm happy to be here. This is a double section, so we get a lot of students, which is fine. The more the merrier. Welcome to orientation week. I know this has been a long week for you guys. I know. I'm thinking most of you are taking at least 2, if not 3 other classes. Pretty common to be taking peds and med-surg 2 with community. Others may be on a track of having a leadership class or mental health class, capstone. So 3 classes, maybe some of you are taking 4, maybe some of you are taking 2. I'm not sure. So I acknowledge that this is an extremely busy term for you guys. First things first, since it is such a big class, everybody knows the drill about the camera. Everybody needs to stay on camera. Okay, I don't want to waste time with asking people to come in on camera and all that. The other thing too is cars. I've already had, let's see, I teach 5 sections this term. So I've had 2 sections before today, Monday and Wednesday. And if in both sections, I've had issues with cars. Okay. And you guys know it's in the handbook, right? You can't be in a car, whether you're driving, passenger, or even parked. You can't be in a car. And I normally wouldn't bring this up, but I've already had a couple issues this week. So if you could just follow that rule. As you'll find out from me, I'm super easy to work with, super easy. I'm super flexible where I can be. All right. But the most important thing for everybody, for me, is communication. Okay. I can't help you if I don't know what's going on. If there's anything that is preventing you from being successful in this class, you got to let me know proactively. Okay. I just passed over in May. I just passed 40 years in nursing. All right. So I know how important communication is. Okay. And so to me, if you had a chance to read my bio, just real brief, I started in the Navy. I was a Navy nurse right out of college. Loved it. Best 10 years I had, Navy nursing. It's awesome. Then I went to Denver and was the director of Women's and Children's Services at a major hospital in Denver, helped build their OB program. Then after 20 years or 18 years, I left there. I went into school nursing. So that's where I got all my community and public health experience, right? Because one of the roles of a community nurse is school nursing. There's a lot of different roles.
Professor,
Pardon me?
you're lagging a lot. I don't know if it's on my end.
No,
I
it's
was just
happening
gonna
here.
say
No,
that.
it's
Yeah,
not. I was
I
gonna
thought it
say
was. Yeah, I thought it was just me too. Okay.
I
Me
mean it's
too.
not even lagging. It's not it is lagging, but I can't even hear you kind of.
Hmm.
There's a lot of static to
Static?
It's
I don't
not
know.
static on
Lagging
my end. It's like a repeatable word. Like if you say hospital, it's like ha 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 hospital.
Hmm.
Mine is just
I
going
know,
like a
but
robot. It's like,
yeah, mine's like freezing for a second and then starting back again too.
Okay. I'm sorry. My internet is stable. I'm in a quiet room. So I'm not sure what's happening. Is this constant or Christina Lawson, what are you shaking your head? Is it Christina
It's
what?
doing
just
it now.
happened.
It
Doing-
just did it
yeah,
now.
going,
yeah.
it's like, it's like
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah. Do y'all have Spectrum internet or everybody got different internet?
I have Spectrum.
Okay, I wonder if it's just, I don't know. I don't
No,
know
I
if
No,
it's
I,
free or,
No, I
Okay.
have Xfinity and it's
Oh,
doing
it's
it on
Xfinity.
my
Oh,
I have
so
It's doing
Verizon and
the
it's the
it's
same
doing.
thing.
Okay, so I haven't had this problem this week, so you're gonna have to work through it with me, okay?
That's man.
I'm sorry. Like I said, it's fine weather outside. I haven't had problems with internet all day. I've been on my internet all day. So, this is being recorded. So if we have to go back and revisit the recording, we'll see. Okay? I don't know what to tell you. I'll do my best. Okay? I'll do my best. Okay. Where was I? Anybody redirect me? Where was I? Oh, my bio. So I ended up in school nursing for 20 years. And then I retired from that a couple of years ago and came into teaching. Okay, so I'm exactly where I want to be right now in my nursing career. I always wanted to finish out my nursing career teaching. Okay, so I'm exactly where I want to be. I've been with Fortis for almost 4 years now. I love it. I love what I'm doing. I love teaching this class. I love working with my students. So that's just a little bit about me. So a couple of things to start out with. First, I always ask this question at the beginning because I like to know, what have you heard about this class? Question very simple.
That's one of the hardest ones.
Hard. I heard the test and the HESIs are hard in this class.
Okay, okay.
Check on the kids.
What else have you heard? Exams are hard, HESI's hard. What else have you heard?
Not much, really.
Take
Okay.
good study notes.
Okay,
I was gonna say, I'll be honest, at Fortis Grand Campus, I feel like we've heard more about like how hard leadership is and how hard like our exit HASI is gonna be. Like I really haven't heard too much about community.
okay. That's good. That's good. Anybody else?
I've heard that is about church, like prevention, the
Mhm.
community, primary, secondary, tertiary prevention.
Okay. So not horrible things. This really isn't a hard class. It really isn't. You just got to keep up. Okay, there's not a whole lot of work associated with this class, but you have to keep up. And the most important thing is with community, you have to shift your mindset. So you've got to take yourself out of the acute care setting, out of the hospital setting. And now we're delivering care in the community setting. Okay, so the community setting can be a whole bunch of, think about your own community you live in. Hang on, let me catch the student who's coming in. You're caring for clients in the community, whether that is a school, whether it's a school nurse in the workplace, an occupational health nurse, you may be working in a hospice center or with hospice patients. You may be an occupational health nurse, an environmental health nurse, public health nurse, immunization nurse. You might work in an urgent care in the community. You might work in a medical office building in a community, dialysis center. So they're all different types of venues in the community that community nurses work in. Does that make sense? And you're going to get an overview and an introduction to the role of the community nurse. Community nursing is often synonymous with public health nursing. Okay. Why do you think why do you think this class is placed in your 7th term? Your second to last term? Why do you think, why do you think
Is
it
it
is?
because maybe we're getting close to the end, and then like you said, we have to like broaden our like experience and stuff in a different way besides like acute care and stuff like that, maybe?
Yep, that's part of it. Yep. Anybody else?
So for Fortis Scranton, this is actually in our last term.
Okay, fantastic.
But I feel like this is kind of going to be like an all-encompassing class.
Exactly.
Kind of covering all the different varieties and venues you can have for nursing.
Excellent. Yep. Anybody else want to add to that? Okay, so Ryan's pretty much over the target there. So the reason why this class is at the end of your program is you're taking out all the tools in your toolbox that you've gathered over the last couple of years. So if you think about the community, you're caring for clients across the whole lifespan. All right. You may be caring for infants and you may be caring for the elderly and everything in between. Right? So your fundamentals, your pediatrics, your geriatrics, your pharmacology, your med surg, your OB, you potentially are caring for any of those kinds of clients. So in this class, we're bringing all of our knowledge forward into our care for clients in the community. Does that make sense? And I can tell you that we don't have a community book for the PN program. As you can see, you're pulling from 3 other books. You're pulling from your med surg book. You're pulling from your introduction to peds and OB, and you're pulling from your fundamentals book. So first things first, you need to make sure that you have access to all those 3 books. They should all be in your library. And if you don't, you need to go into your student resources and put in an IT ticket to get access or talk to your campus. Okay, but you have to have access to all 3 of those books. And I can tell you that this community class is very med surg focused. Okay, I can tell you that we cover infants, pediatrics, adolescents, adults, elderly, and a lot of vulnerable populations. Okay. Access to those 3 books is important. You're going to see readings from all those books, and we'll go through that when we get to the module. What else was I going to say about, your HESI, community HESI, very focused on med surg, adult med surg, geriatrics, and pediatrics. Because remember, think about it. Community is the big picture, caring for anybody and everybody. And in the community, let's say in acute care, you have your patient assignment. In the community, the patients or clients might be an individual. It could be a family unit. It could be a subset of the population. Let's say you're working with the homeless. It could be a large group in a particular community, say the elderly or the kids in schools like I did. Okay, so the biggest thing you have to do, the most important thing you have to do is shift your mindset that you're now caring for clients in the community. I mean, think about it. When patients get discharged from acute care facilities, a lot of them need care, follow-up care. Sometimes that care can be given in the home with resources, services in the home. Sometimes they have to go to rehab centers. Sometimes they go to assisted livings centers. Sometimes they go to hospice centers. Kids that may be in an acute care setting, say for asthma exacerbation, they go home, but then they're back at school. So that's the connection from the acute care into the community with the school nurse. Okay, many clients in the community need follow-up care. And that's where community nurses and all the different roles they have come in. Does that make sense?
Professor.
Yes, Ryan.
So I don't know if you can answer this, but what's the difference between the community course and the capstone course? Because it seems like they're very similar. Is the difference with the capstone, it might be more like hospital based and more acute settings, whereas with the community, it's more outside that?
I don't know about the capstone, so I can't answer that question.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Capstone is
fine.
just like everything. It's like everything put together. So it'll be like community and that. I'm taking capstone now, so it's just everything combined in one.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So in some ways, it's probably a bit similar.
Okay.
Okay. So the way today's going to work is I have to go through the orientation PowerPoint. I have to. I know you've all been through it, but I do have to go through it. I'll go through it quickly. I'm sure there's nobody in this class that hasn't gone through the PowerPoint. Is there anybody that hasn't gone through the PowerPoint this week in a different class? Okay. So I have to go through that. I'll go through that particularly quickly. If anybody's got background noise, or if you could mute yourself, that would be great. I'm hearing a lot of background noise. Just people talking in the background and stuff. So please make sure you're on mute. So we'll go through it quickly, the PowerPoint, and then I want to take a look at the syllabus. Okay. And then I'd like to take a look at the announcements, just point out a few things in your announcements. And then I would like to point out a couple of assignments in your modules that you have access to early on and explain those. Okay? Does anybody have any questions before we get started? I'm really happy you're all here. I'm excited to teach this class. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Let me double check the chat, make sure I don't have to answer any questions. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Bring up the PowerPoint. So I can only see a couple of students now that I've shared my screen. So if you wouldn't mind staying on camera, that'd be great. If you need to take a break and go to the restroom, get a drink, please feel free to do that. Okay, you don't need to go off camera and then come back on, or log off and log back on. Stay logged on. Okay. So we all know what online nursing is, right? Online learning, right? You have to have a stable computer, stable internet. Okay. If for some reason your computer is kind of wonky and off and on, your internet's kind of off and on, you should probably plan on going to campus and participating in class. Okay. And if this is also thinking forward, is exams on campus. And we'll talk about exams later, but if your internet is unstable, your computer's unstable, you should really, at least for exams and quizzes, plan on going to campus and taking those. Okay. Over the term, I will be providing feedback and guidance to you guys with your assignments in class, with our group work, with our breakout room activities. Okay, the class includes something weekly is due, whether it's a paper, a group project, a discussion question, an NCLEX, a case study. You have something due every week. Okay. We have a lot of campuses. We have Centerville, Columbus, Norfolk, Richmond, Scranton, Cuyahoga. Hello? We have lots of campuses in this big class: Centerville, Columbus, Norfolk, Richmond, Scranton, Cuyahoga Falls. So a lot of campuses represented. So hopefully during the course of the class, you'll get to meet students from other campuses. Hey, let me check this student in. Okay. Okay, as far as communication, your first point of contact is me, your instructor, okay? If I can't help you, since I'm also the course lead for the PN community class with, I think, 8 sections we have, I'll reach out to Dean Brown, okay? And see if we can't get your issues or whatever's going on resolved if I can't resolve that. Okay, so you can reach me through Canvas email. You can reach me through my regular email. You can reach me on my phone. All that information is in my instructor page. I have no problem with you calling me or texting me. Just identify who you are and maybe what campus you're from and what day you have class. Okay, so I have no problem with you reaching out to me in that way. Okay. Slide 4 is a good slide to have as far as contact information, right? So you start with me. Like I said, here's my information. Here's Dean Brown's information. And before I forget, if anybody, I think tonight is the deadline. I think yesterday I put it was last night, but I think you have till tonight at 9 o'clock to make any schedule changes, requests. Okay, this is a good slide to keep with all the contact information. Okay, as far as etiquette, okay, state your thoughts in a courteous, positive, respectful manner. Be mindful of how to express humorous or emotional statements. Sometimes these can be misinterpreted. Keep your comments relevant to the discussion topic. Be considerate of others' experiences, feelings, and perspectives. Use proper language and titles. I don't typically have issues with etiquette in my classes. If I have to put somebody in a breakout room to maybe talk to them one-on-one, I will do that. I won't call out students in class in front of others. I just will not do that. Okay. Or I may send you a message after class to jump on Zoom and maybe if we need to talk about something, but I don't typically have issues with etiquette at all. But we have to all be mindful of it. Okay. As you guys know, being in term 7 or 8, this is the scheduled class time that you're supposed to attend. Okay, Fridays at 4 o'clock. Okay. I don't usually, with these hour and 40-minute classes, I don't usually take a break and we try and finish up 10 minutes early. Is that agreeable to everybody? I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute. Does anybody have any issues with that? It usually works out fine. And I try and be very mindful of finishing up 10 minutes early if we don't agree to a break. Okay. If anybody,
Professor,
yes,
my
Ryan.
only question is regarding exam days. Because usually with like our prior online course we've taken, like we take the exam and then we come back to class.
Yeah,
So
we
on
don't
exam days,
we don't come back
will the
to
exam
class
take
on
a-
exam.
Okay.
On exam days in this class, we do not come back to class.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions about that?
Can we, can we do them on campus or do they have to be on here?
Do what?
The exams.
No, you can, we'll talk about that when we get to exams, but yes, I always have students every term taking exams on campus. However, the caveat to that is you have to find your proctor. There has to be at least 72 hours notice. You have to give that proctor my contact information or give me their information so I can communicate with them. And the dean has to approve the proctors. So it's a process. But I have students every term that take exams on campus. But you do have to find your own proctors and get that set up at least 72 hours ahead of time.
Okay, thank
That
you.
help? Yeah, you're welcome. Right. So these online classes are mandatory, just like your ground classes. Okay, and I hope you treat them like your ground class as well, coming on time. This class has discussion questions, projects, papers, quizzes, exams. Right. So as you know, this week and next week, if you've looked at the modules, we have 2 discussion questions. Those are both in weeks 1 and 2. So weeks 1 and 2 are the only 2 weeks you're going to have Wednesday due dates. And Wednesday due dates, as you know, are for those initial posts. Right? And then you have until Sunday for your 2 peer reviews. There were several students from this particular 2 classes that didn't turn in their initial post. And I sent you all a message. So if you don't turn in your initial post, you're not going to get credit for that part of the rubric. But as my message said to you guys, please continue on and do your peer responses and you'll get credit for that part of it. Okay? Due dates, all the due dates are in your syllabus or in your assignments page. Okay, and as you can see, and I'll just talk about this now, most of the assignments are not going to be available until the Sunday before the week. Okay, like your NCLEX, your case studies, your discussion questions. There are 3 assignments that are open now. We'll talk about those when we get to the module. Your vulnerable populations assignment due in week 10, your HESI prep due in week 9, and then your group project that's due in week 7. All those 3 are open now. And I'll explain that more. Standards of professional conduct. Okay, academic integrity. What is academic integrity? Any incidences of academic dishonesty and violations to academic integrity will be disciplined. And I can tell you that, and I'm sure your other instructors this week have told you, academic integrity is a pretty big issue and being watched very carefully. Examples: cheating, plagiarism, unauthorized use of materials, of notes, or materials in exams, including talking to other students. So that means if there are Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday students from your campuses that take an exam early and provide you information on that exam, well, everybody doesn't have the same exam anyway. But that's what that means. Forging or altering assignments. Unpermitted collaboration, giving or receiving aid on take-home exam or other academic assignments under circumstances in which any reasonable person would know that that particular aid is not permitted. And then allowing others to copy your work that's not his or her own. Providing answers from graded assignments to others. So that would be from quizzes or exams. Okay. Nurses, we have a code of ethics. Okay, we have that applies to us individually and as a profession. Okay, what is the code of ethics? It's a statement of values, obligations, duties, professional ideals. Like I said, there applies to us individually and collectively. All right, it's a non-negotiable ethical standard that we are all held up to. Okay. So you should be familiar with our code of ethics. Sites that promote cheating, I can tell you honestly, very honestly, these sites are being monitored. They're being monitored by every campus. Okay. Use of these cheating sites obviously does not promote honor, ethics, or integrity. The sites are being monitored. Being found on these sites will place you on a heightened monitoring of your work for academic integrity violations. Don't reference these sites when you're doing your papers or your discussion questions, right? So if you're referencing information found in these sites, that's going to be a 0 on the assignment. And again, you've already been through this probably 1 or 2 times, this PowerPoint, so you've heard this. Second incident involving these sites will result in course failure. Utilizing these sites, whether you're just perusing them, posting on them, downloading from them, it's going to put you at a high risk of being dismissed from the program. Okay, and obviously your campus has to get involved as well. Some examples: Studoco, StuDocU, Course Hero, Studvia. I found last term when I was perusing StuDocU, I found my exam reviews, I found HESI prep assignments, I found a lot of my content from my class on this site. So of course everything had to be changed. So yeah, I think last term, somewhere in the vicinity, I thought I heard around 400 students were identified as being on different sites. So I can't stress enough, these sites are being monitored. Okay. Anybody have any questions about that? That's a pretty important one. Okay, late work. Everybody knows what the late work policy is. You're in your 7th or 8th term, right? It starts with letting me know first you're going to be late. And I can work with you. Okay? But I got to know on the front end. If you've let me know that you're going to be late, you'll have up to 7 days to turn in the assignment with a 10% deduction. That 10% I can waive if it's been an emergency and you have documentation. Okay? After 8 days, after the 7th day, I can't accept anything. So like last term, I had students that were at risk of failure because they didn't turn in their week 3 or 6 NCLEX or both. They want to turn in week 11. I can't. Okay, so you only have 7 days. And that's with prior authorization. You got to let me know. That's the communication piece I'm talking about. I can work with you. Just let me know on the front end. Okay. You guys should know this. Recorded. Everything's recorded. So at the end of every week, you'll get a lecture recording. I usually try and do it obviously the same day so that if you miss class, you can watch the recording. If you had to step out for any part of class, you can go back and watch that part that you missed from the recording. Or if you just want to review the lecture again, you have it available to you. Okay, obviously you need to sign in with your names, your correct names, be on camera the whole time. Driving, there's the driving bullet. If I can't get you to come back on camera, then I'm probably going to put you in a breakout room and we'll have to go over there separately and talk to you as far as getting back on camera. You know, you're going to get out of this class what you put into it. If you're focused, engaged, sitting in a quiet area, participating, paying attention to class, you're going to get everything out of the class. But if you're, you know, kind of up, walking around, back and forth, and not engaged, I'm not sure how much you will get out of it. Okay. You all know the attendance issue with the 15-minute increments. So if you come into this class at 4:01, you're going to get docked 15 minutes. If you come in at 4:05, you're going to get docked 15 minutes. Everything's in 15-minute increments. If you come in at 4:16, you're going to get docked 30 minutes. All right, so just try and be on time. Try and stay for the whole class. That's the expectation. And this report I get at the end of every class, like I told you, it's very specific. Time in, time out, any time you've, missed in between, if you've logged out and or left early, it's all documented on there. And this is the report that goes directly to the registrar. That's how they track your attendance. Okay, 14 days. So if you miss 2 classes in a row, you're going to automatically get dropped without any notification. Okay, if you have to miss the class, if something happens, you have an emergency, you have to miss class, just let me know. Okay, I have to mark you absent for that class. However, if there's some kind of an emergency, you provide documentation. I forward that information on to Dean Brown and she'll take care of it. But you are marked absent even if it's an emergency, but hopefully you have some documentation to back that up. So attendance taken weekly, turned over to the registrar, early departures, that's all in there, 15-minute increments. If you get to 20% or 20% plus of missed class, you're either going to receive a failing grade or definitely have a grade reduced by a whole letter grade. Okay, and this next slide talks about if you're at 5%, and it adds up quickly if you're chronically late or if you have to leave early chronically. 5%, you're going to get an online email from Campus View. 10%, you're going to have to meet with me. And we'll talk about what's going on and try and come up with some strategies to correct it. If it's 15%, you're going to have to meet with myself and the campus, your campus dean. Okay. So the level of intervention on our behalf will be relying upon the amount of time you're missing. Okay, so again, I know it's a Friday afternoon class. I know it's been a long week and it's a Friday class every week. So hopefully you can find the resilience to get to class on time and be engaged for an hour and a half. So in summary, 7 key steps to success: review your work that's due each week, complete the reading assignments each week, complete, if there's an interactive lesson, complete that, attend your live sessions to get a better understanding of the concepts. Obviously, these are mandatory. Always read your rubrics before you start any assignment, because that's how I grade. Complete all your assignments on time. Study and complete quizzes and exams. We'll talk about quizzes. Quizzes are given at the beginning of class, in this class, just like they are in all of them. To be successful in the class, I would encourage you to log on at least 4 to 5 times a week. I know it says review course announcements weekly, but I post announcements a lot. Okay, so I'll be checking announcements at least a couple of times a week. That's my communication with you. Okay, submit all your assignments when they're due. Towards the end of each week, review assignments for next week. Don't procrastinate. Like I said at the beginning, I know this is a super busy term for you, so hopefully you have some kind of an organizational system that works, whether it's a calendar, putting in all your due dates for all your classes, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on paper, whether it's on the computer. This is the term, every term you need it, but this term in particular, organizational skills and time management skills are going to be critical. Okay. Keep in contact with me. Again, I don't want to be in your business, but you've got to be proactive with me in communication. I mean, that's the one thing you're going to hear from me the whole term. If you contact me after something's been late, oh, I had this going on. Or if you contact me after an exam, you're taking an exam and said, oh, I shouldn't have taken that exam. I was in the emergency room yesterday. I'm going to repeat to you, why didn't you let me know ahead of time? Okay, I'm really, really a stickler for proactive communication. That's what our nursing profession is built on, collaboration and communication. All right, I'm super easy to get in touch with. Okay, I'm super responsive to emails and texts. Super quick response. Okay, so don't think that if you send me an email, I'm going to respond 3 days later. That's not the case. I'm going to respond hopefully within a couple hours. Okay. Actually, there were some students that in this big class, this is getting started, that hadn't even taken the syllabus quiz or the literacy check quiz before this class today. So there are some students that haven't even gone into the module. Okay, haven't done anything yet. So if you're one of those students, I would highly encourage you to get those 2 little quick quizzes done so that you have access to the shell, because right now you don't have access to the shell. Most of you have been in the shell and spent time in the shell, so I'm sure you're going through assignments, syllabus, all that, so that's great. And again, I know it's been a busy week and you're trying to look at 3 different class syllabuses, due dates, I get that. But you need to spend some time in this class as well. And I guess the one thing I'd say about community, and I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute, just because I wanna let you guys know, this is not a class that you can blow off. Okay, you need this class to keep moving forward. Okay, I realize that your other classes have clinicals and sims and labs. This class doesn't have any of that. We don't even have CJ Sims in this class. Okay, but I always suggest to students, carve out a little bit of time at some point during the week, get your community tasks done, and then move on to your other classes. Okay, so if you blow off this class and you kind of blow off the first couple of weeks and do poorly on exam 1, you're just going to be playing catch up the whole term. I say this every single term. Okay, because we only have 3 exams, 5 quizzes, and a HESI. So if you do poorly on exam 1, you don't have the chance to improve that grade until week 6. Okay, that's halfway through the term, and that's a lot of weeks to be stressed out about a community grade. Does that make sense? It's just put the effort in on the front end. Like I said, just carve out some time for community, get it done. Whatever's due, get it done. Turn it in early in the week. All right, and then you're done. I can't stress that enough.
Professor,
Yep.
yeah.
Go ahead,
Sorry
Ryan.
to keep asking questions. Sorry to keep asking questions. You did post a concept guide for us. Will you also be doing like exam reviews?
Yeah, I'll get to that when we get to the modules. Yeah, let me get through this PowerPoint. Yep, we will. Let's see.
Thank you.
Yep, come to class prepared. Yeah, you got to come to class prepared because we have 5 quizzes, and those quizzes require you to come to class prepared, right? The quiz, that's why the quizzes are given at the beginning of class. And 10 additional review sessions offered by the faculty, as Ryan asked. You should have already received your master review schedule in one of your announcements, which I'll go through, which have all the exam reviews and the HESA reviews for the whole term. You have all those. And we do that at the very beginning so that you can plan accordingly. Because I realize with your busy schedules, with school, with work, with family, that it's helpful to have that ahead of time so you can maybe plan accordingly. You did get a syllabus cover sheet. As you can see, I listed an office hour. I just typically do it the hour before class. So if you want to get on with me the hour before class, shoot me an email and let me know. But I have to put an office hour in the official syllabus sheet. But I want you to know that I'm available whenever. Okay, and as a lot of you, I've already met with a lot of you. Okay, if you give me dates and times you want to meet with me, I can be flexible and work with you. I can meet early in the mornings, in the evenings, on the weekends. So that syllabus hour is just the official hour I need to put in there. But I'm available pretty much whenever. Okay?
So does that include, like, because I've seen it said tutoring or something. So if we needed help, that's what you are going to do. You'll be able to help us more. Okay.
Absolutely. That's the kind of my official hour. With all my sections, I always put in the hour before class. But as all the students that I've already met with will tell you, all I say is provide me some dates and times that you want to meet. And I'll work with you. Okay? Tutoring. Always available for tutoring. Okay? I do, though, the one caveat I have about tutoring is that you need to do your due diligence first. Like if for like just say next week during content week, we're going to cover weeks 1 and 2 content next week. Okay. So if for some reason you missed class or you weren't paying attention in class, don't set up a tutoring session to go over the class. Okay. You have to look at the recording. Okay. And same with exam reviews. I want you to do your due diligence first. All right. So you went to class. If you weren't in class, you watched the recording. If after that there were things you're struggling with, concepts you're struggling with, then let's meet about those. If you go and do all your due diligence with exam prep, okay, you have either attended review sessions, you have watched the 3 recordings of the weekly lectures, you've attended review sessions or watched the recordings of the review sessions, filled out your study guide, and then there's still concepts you're struggling with, that's when we'll meet and we'll go over what you're still struggling with. I don't do tutoring sessions to review a class you missed or review the whole exam review. I want you to do your part. Does that make sense, Christian? Anybody? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
thank
yeah, thanks. There's an expectation on your part as well. Okay, you have to do your part. And then we come together and talk about what you're struggling with.
And then, like you said, if it's a reason why we can't come like an hour before class, we'll just let you know and see if there's any other time available for you or any day.
Yeah, but if you want to come during that hour, just let me know and I'll jump on because I don't typically just jump on for the whole hour. I'm usually getting ready for class. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
whenever you want to meet with me, you just let me know. I want to come in during the hour before class, or I can't meet until this weekend. Do you have any available Saturday or Sunday? Any availability?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You'll find it very easy to access me. Okay.
Okay, well, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. You're welcome. This is in your syllabus and we'll cover it, but this is the best I could do for copying and pasting and importing. I'm just not that tech savvy. So it's kind of blurry, but this is our grading. This is what we have. We have 3 unit exams, a HESI, 5 quizzes. We have 4 sets of 50 NCLEX. We have a vulnerable populations project worth 5%, HESI prep worth 5%, 2 case studies, each worth 2.5%. And then we have 2 discussion questions and a group project. So that's how we get to 100. And there's a more clearer picture in the syllabus. So we'll review that in a little bit more detail. So weeks 1 through 5, there'll be no homework scores on. Week 6 and 7, I'll turn those homework scores on. We all know why, right? Because week 8 is drop week. And so you have a couple of weeks to take a look and see how your homework is impacting your overall grade. If you're turning in your homework and doing a good job of your homework, it's going to up your grade. If you're not turning in homework, it's going to bring your grade lower. Okay, so you have 2 weeks to see how your homework is impacting your overall grade. And that helps you make a decision going into week 8, whether you want to drop or not. Okay, and then at the end of week 7, it'll be on for 6 and 7. Then it's turned off for the rest of the course. And we all know, you guys all know this, you have to have a KGA at the end of the term of 78, which includes your 3 exams, 5 quizzes, and your HESI. It has to be at a 78 before your homework scores are added in. This is not a class to be a homework fail. It's not. There's just not that much work. Okay. And I have it happen every term. Okay. This is not, you don't want to be a homework fail. You don't want to be a homework fail in any class, right? Not this one. Exams, 2 devices. I know it says quizzes, but for exams, 2 devices. You guys know this. ExamSoft, you need your laptop to take the exam. You need your phone for Zoom. Quizzes, everybody usually sits in front of the computer and takes the quiz. I'm okay with that. Okay, quizzes. Quizzes are part of KGA, so they have to be proctored. So it's just like you're going to come to class on weeks 2, 3, 5, 6, and 8, and we're going to start right off the bat with the quiz. Right off the bat. Time quiz, 15 minutes. Okay, and then we're going to review the quiz. I like to review the quiz and do a lot of teaching from the quizzes. Okay, there's one attempt. Okay, they're designed, as I've said, to be given at the beginning of class to make sure you have prepared for class. Okay, so for example, next week, you'll be taking quiz 1. It's going to cover all the readings from weeks 1 and 2. Okay, so write that down, 1 and 2. The week 3 is going to cover week 3. Excuse me, quiz 2 in week 3 will cover week 3. Okay, so really what you need to do is do your reading ahead of time, do your prep work. Okay, quizzes are time 15 minutes, 10 questions. You got to take it on camera since it needs to be proctored. Quizzes cannot be made up for any reason. You come late to class after we've started the quiz, and I usually will start the quiz right off the bat. Right, so by 4:05 is the latest I will start the quiz. All right, so if you're a couple of minutes late, you're not going to be taking the quiz. Okay, I'll probably put you in a waiting room and you'll have to sit that one out for those 15 minutes. The rest of the class is taking the quiz. Okay, so come to class on time, right? And quizzes can't be made up. So if you're 5 minutes late and you can't take the quiz, you can't make it up.
I got a question, excuse me.
Yep.
So 2 things, because it was kind of like breaking up when you were saying about the quiz. Quiz 1, that's next week, you said? Okay. And then, so for your quizzes, I don't know if you were going to hit on that or not. Do you like have a review over that before the quiz, or we just kind of just go off, like you said, the readings that we read?
We cover the content after the quiz. The quizzes are about your prep work, preparation for class. That's what the quizzes are testing you on, your preparation for class. So if you don't do any of the readings, don't prepare for class, you're probably not going to do well on the quiz.
Okay.
And that's standard in every class. All the quizzes are given at the beginning of classes. Okay? Okay. Exams, no different. Exam soft, the same drill for exams. I think the exam soft practice exam is going to be available on Monday. I'll let you guys know, and I'll open that up for you. And that's where you test out your equipment and all your tech stuff to make sure everything is compatible. Don't just make the assumption that everything transferred over from one term to the next. It probably did, but it's worth it going through the exam practice test. Okay, so I'll let you know on Monday when that pops up, Monday or Tuesday, and I hope everybody does it. Because if you wait till week 4, we get to exam 1 and there's some issue of compatibility, it's just going to create a lot of stress and anxiety for you for exam 1. Okay. All right. Exams, 1 attempt. If you're having problems, obviously you stop. You guys have been through this for a couple of years now. You know the drill. Exams are time. Pay attention to time used. Okay. What else about exams? Anybody with accommodations? I sent out an email earlier in the week. I need to know if you already haven't let me know, I need to know if anybody's repeating the class or repeating a class this term, if you're a re-entry student, or if you have accommodations. I need your accommodations paperwork, okay? It has to get reapproved every term by Dean Brown. Okay, I've heard from a lot of people repeating reentry. A few people that have accommodations have already sent me paperwork, but if anybody is lagging and hasn't sent me that yet, I need to get that. Okay, and then obviously your time for accommodations is preloaded into ExamSoft. Okay, you have to take the exam on the scheduled day of class. So this is the time you'll be taking the exam. Okay, if there's an emergency, of course, we'll work with you. But I've got to know on the front end. Okay, the exams are proctored, ask for an ID, look at your setup, all of that. Nothing's different except this is new, no paper this term. So if you don't have a whiteboard, forget it. Everybody should have a whiteboard by now. Everybody. So if you need to go to
For
the dollar,
tests?
pardon me?
It keeps breaking up. You said we can't have paper for tests?
Nope, it has to be a whiteboard. It's right here. Must
I
have an
understand, it's
erasable,
just-
must have an
okay.
erasable whiteboard, no paper. So if you need to run to a dollar store and pick up a small whiteboard, I'm just going,
No, I'm glad you told us because I've never had that so far. So at least I know now before the test. So that's great.
well,
Thank you.
have you gone through the orientation PowerPoint in your other classes this week? This
Yeah,
is
but I don't know if I'm because so I
Yeah, they
remember
didn't
last
say
term,
anything
like
about
Ryan,
no paper.
we've never had
Yeah,
those
no one
before.
else has that.
That's
Yeah,
fine, but I just now I'm glad I know.
Okay,
Yeah, I've never heard of that. That's okay. Thank you.
okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. No use of calculators. A calculator is built into the ExamSoft system. Okay. Let's see, missed exams will be held to the late work policy. Right? So you can't just, no call, no show for an exam is a 0. If it's personal reasons, I was sick this week, but I didn't really go to the doctor, I want to take the exam at a later time. You have up to a week to take it with a 10% deduction. If your exam is missed due to an emergency, of course, submit the documentation, we'll get you rescheduled to take the exam. Okay, and I already addressed taking exams on campus. If you want to take your exam on campus, that's perfectly fine. But you have to find a proctor. Okay, 72 hours notice to the proctor and me so we can coordinate and I can provide them all the sign in, passcodes and all that. All right, but it's up to
I
you
have
to
a
find. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So if you
I can't hear
have an
you.
emergency and you have the,
Uh-huh.
I said, so if you have the proper documentation and you get to take your test, you guys are still going to take 10% off?
No,
Oh, okay.
No, emergencies will require documentation and there will not be any 10% off.
Okay.
Okay. I can always work with you if you communicate with me before the exam. I can't do a whole lot if it's after the exam. So like I said, if you've taken the exam and you feel like you did awful and say, I shouldn't have taken the exam, I've had strep, I've been in the emergency room, I've whatever, I can't do anything after you've taken the exam. That's why the proactive communication. All right, requires you to communicate before rather than after. Let's see. Really need to go through that. During exams, if you're running into problems, stop. Stop the exam. Do not continue. Let me know. We'll start to problem solve what needs to happen. But you got to stop the exam. Don't just let the time keep going. Stop the exam, whether I have you call ExamSoft support, whether I can sort it out technically, we'll figure it out. But you got to stop. HESI, in this class, 1 attempt. Okay, they're given on campus like you just did a few weeks ago. There's only 1 attempt in this class. Nothing's really different. 20% of your grade benchmark is 900. Just so you know, for encouragement, the last term, a couple of weeks ago, my January group, we had, I think, 7 sections, over 100 students. The average HESI score was 83. That's really good. Really, really good. It keeps bumping up every term. Okay, so that's really good news. So I hope that's encouraging. That means that I feel like we prepared you guys well for the HESI. Remediation, we'll go through that when it gets closer to HESI. It hasn't changed. How do you sign in for HESI? Let's see, contact your instructor if you have any problems. Yeah, so again, really important, slide 40. Contact me if you're having issues or if you need some additional help. NCLEX or homework assignments. Hopefully you've been doing this, planning, prioritizing, completing work, and submitting work. If you need to review this, go ahead and do that on your own. It's slide 42. Same with 43. This is just a sample of an organizational, taking your assignments off the shell and putting them on a calendar. But you got to be organized this term. Late work, we went through that. NCLEX. Here's my spiel on NCLEX. First of all, NCLEX, you have 4 of them. It's in your modules, but they're 3, 6, 9, and 11 weeks. In that module, it tells you the categories to select. You need to do 150 set, not 225s, not 510s. Do 150 because then you'll get the full variety of all the categories you've selected. It's going to be chopped up if you do the 225s and 510s. Here's my thing with NCLEX. NCLEX is a super important assignment. Okay, it's practice. It's practice for your boards, right? 2 things. One is don't turn in something under 40. Okay, just try not to. And that means you didn't get a lot out of the assignment. I'm a real big believer for rationales. So if you go and take an NCLEX, you can take it as many times as you want. You can only submit it once. So if you go and do an NCLEX and you get a 30, right? Don't submit that. Go back and read that's why you should try and do your NCLEXs earlier in the week because they're due on Sunday. And if, let's say you get a 30, go back and read the rationale, see what you got wrong, why, then retake it. Maybe you're at a 40. Okay, go back and read those rationales. Then take it again. I like 45 or higher because each of your NCLEX is worth 1.25%. All right, so it will deduct if you're going to turn in low NCLEX. Plus, I think it's a great learning tool. All right, so take it as many times as you want, submit it once. All right, if you submit it early in the week and you submit me lower than 40, I'm probably going to send you a message back that says, hey, I've reopened this for you if you'd like to retake it again before the end of the week. All right, so I really encourage 45 plus NCLEX scores. I already told you where you can find those. We just went through that. I can't take screenshots, and all your other instructors have told you this as well. You have to access all your assignments through the links in the module. So if you go to www.evolve.com and start your NCLEX, it's only going to give you a screenshot. I can't accept it. All right, you got to go through the links in the modules. Okay. What else? HESI. HESI. What else do I need to go through? I don't need to do that. We don't have CJ Sims in this class. We have case studies. Papers, I sent you in one of your announcements, it's APA format. We'll go through that in a minute when we get to the modules. Here's a rubric. There's rubrics for every assignment. Please take a look at them. I sent you APA information for a couple of assignments. And these are the questions I like to ask in week 12. So we don't need to review that. Okay, any quick questions before we jump to the syllabus? We'll go through a couple of announcements and I want to go through the modules. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question about the NCLEX. So you saying we just have to go click on the instead of going to
I can't hear you.
the
I can't hear you, Cicely.
You hear how she, like, you can't hear her and what it's doing? That's how you was sounding too. I don't know what's going on with the internet.
Okay.
Just a FYI.
Thank you. Cicely, you,
You can hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. Yep. NCLEX.
I want to know, like, how do you submit it? I know you said you have to click on the link instead.
Yeah, and then you get a
Yes.
PDF and submit it. You
Are you
should,
doing
have
the
you had
PDF?
NCLEX? Have you had NCLEX in other classes?
Okay.
It's the same way.
Yeah, I was just making sure it was the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So the
exactly the
PDF.
same. Yep, yep. I need the full PDF. It's usually
Okay.
between 12 and 18 pages. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. All right, so let's
Professor, I have a question real quick.
yeah, of course.
As a just like a secondary study resource, like material, is the ATI community-based nursing book okay to study from, as well as like an additional resource?
What is the book? What is the book?
It's
I don't-
it's ATI community nursing.
I mean, sure, yes, you can. Yes, I just don't want. I just don't want you to overdo it. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? I just don't want you to overdo it. You can peruse through it and learn about community nursing, but I've had students say, "Oh, I Googled community nursing," or "I went on what's the flashcard Quizlet and did community nursing questions." Yes, you can do that, but be careful about all the other information in there. Does that make sense? I mean,
Okay.
it's community, but yeah. I'm not saying don't do it. I just caution you, I caution students not to overdo it. And
Okay.
in your, well, I'll show you that when we get to the module. As far as resources, you guys have a pretty good package of resources,
Well, I
right?
know we have Kaplan and we have things with that, but we also have, you know, like the next gen questions that we can do.
That's what I was going to show
and
you. Yep.
we can go into that, and that's what we've been doing. But
Yep.
I'm not a big fan of like online books, and I know 2 out of the 3 books that we have are online. So I was just wondering, like, if the additional resources that I picked up would be okay for me to study from as well.
You can, but like I said, they're not approved resources for this course. You would simply be trying to increase your knowledge about community, but I don't want you to get too confused or, like I said, overdo your resources.
Okay, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yep. The one thing I forgot to mention about NCLEX, one of my students, I like to use week 12 of what did you do during the term for resources? What did you do what did you do to study for HESI? One of my students told me that after I told them in week 1 that their HESI is very med-surg focused, adult med-surg, peds, geriatrics. She told the group, and she ended up scoring 1100 on her HESI, but she went through and said to the group that over the course every week, she went into the NCLEX into study mode, and she selected a lot of adult health med-surg questions. So she went through all the systems, adult med-surg, neurological, adult med-surg, whatever. She said there was over 1,000 questions in NCLEX that she did over the course of the term, but she made herself do an extra 50 questions a week. Right. And she just, like I said, everybody knows how to do that. You go into study mode and you can select your own categories.
But you're talking about the HESI practical nursing book, right?
She said it was in NCLEX. I don't know what she didn't say a book. She said she could go into NCLEX and evolve and create her own in a study mode.
It's
Right,
just like
'cause
you
there's
would do your NCLEX questions. Instead of clicking exam mode, there's a study mode.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
those are Saunders questions though, because there's
Yeah, that
there's
HESI book that HESI book that you're talking about, they don't have nothing pertaining to community in that
Right.
one. So they're just
Right.
strictly talking about the NCLEX. Yeah.
well no
Right.
they have every subject we have.
They don't have community in there. I'm a
So there's-
repeat student. They don't have
there's no community.
in that one.
Hey,
Right.
hey,
Right.
Ryan.
Okay,
Ryan.
but I thought you just said she went and she studied every other subject.
She
like in
she
adult health.
studied adult med surg because I told her that the community HESI is very med-surg focused. So she went in and did med-surg questions.
Okay.
Yeah, and she said it was extremely helpful.
Okay. So
So
she's
she-
talking about the Saunders. Okay.
She's talking about what Kayla just said. You can go in and instead of exam mode, do study mode.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's just read the course description. Introduction to promoting, this is community health, promoting health and wellness with individuals in diverse community-based settings. We talked about all the different settings. We'll cover wellness promotion, independence, interdependence, discharge planning. We'll study complex chronic illnesses, HIV. We'll look at different environments, outpatient clinics, giving care in homes, diagnosis-based healthcare centers. We'll talk a lot about vulnerable populations, right? Think about our communities. Think about our zip code we live in. As you drive around, think about all the vulnerable populations in our communities. Okay, I'm not going to go. You can read through the student learning outcomes and the course objectives. I just want to, here's your 3 books. Please make sure you have the right editions. You should. Okay, so there's your 3 main books. Don't worry about this Nurse Think because we don't do CJ Sims. Okay, these are the 3 big resources that students tell me they use over and over and over again. First is this, SC Comprehensive Review for NCLEX PN exam. That's a big resource that students tell me over and over again they use. So it's the 4th one down. The next big resource students tell me they use is Calculate with Confidence. If you struggle with math, you want to get into this book. Very basic Math 101. The math questions on our exams are pretty simple. Okay. And then the 3rd resource is this one that students tell me they use all the time. The Saunders Comprehensive Review for the NCLEX PN. And I'm just highlighting these 3 because this is what students tell me term after term they use. Here's your grading component and values. We went over this in the PowerPoint, but it's a little bit more clearer here. Okay, we went through the rest of all this in the PowerPoint. If you want to read through it, or you should read through it. Just wanted to show you a little bit before I jump into the modules, all the different topics going to be covered if you haven't read this yet. All right, so introduction to community nursing. Somebody mentioned at the beginning of class, levels of health prevention, primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay, I'm going to cover weeks 1 and 2 next week. Okay, so it'll be covered in week 2, the content from week 1 and 2. When we have an exam, so like weeks 4, 7, and 10, we'll cover that week content that you missed from the exam. We'll cover that the next week. So like after exam 1 in week 4, in week 5, we'll cover weeks 4 and 5. Okay. We're going to talk about introduction to vulnerability, school nurse, growth and development. Think of all your other classes and how this plays in. Okay. A lot of it's going to be overlap. Okay. But we're shifting our care into the community. So growth and development, your first discussion question this week is on vulnerable. You're supposed to pick a vulnerable population. And then this week's content is introduction to vulnerability. I don't know if I mentioned this, but the concepts we covered are on the left side. All your to-dos, your reading is in the middle. And what's due is on the right-hand side. Okay. School nurse, growth and development. Your second discussion question next week is on common childhood ailments, which is what our content is on next week. So those go hand in hand. Then we're going to take a look at family nursing, family health risks. Week 3, we're going to start to dive into vulnerable populations. We'll talk about migrant, rural populations, migrant farm workers, the homeless population, individuals, families, communities that live in poverty, how that affects healthcare. And then week 4, we'll do specific vulnerable populations. We'll talk about the pregnant adolescents, LGBTQ, mental illness, alcohol, tobacco, and other drug issues. Then we'll shift to talk about hospice and palliative care, death and dying, faith and spirituality and how it affects healthcare in the community, ethics. Week 6, we'll talk about a couple of different roles of the community nurse. Whether there may be nurses that may be occupational health nurses, environmental health nurses. We do a lot of teaching in the community. So we'll talk about barriers to learning, reinforcing health education. Then we do we'll do a part on infectious disease prevention and control in the community. Big stuff. Think about the pandemic. Pandemic was all about community and public health nursing. We'll talk about the clients with HIV, TB, STDs. We'll do an overview on bioterrorism and disaster and how community nurses are involved in that. Home care, big part of community nursing. Knowing community resources, case management, how that looks in the community. And then we'll do a section on care of the complex chronic illnesses. In the community, there's a very high rate of chronic complex illnesses. So we'll do a section on that. And then lastly, we'll talk about human abuse and violence, very prevalent in the community, human trafficking, domestic violence, and talk about culture. We'll kind of talk about culture the whole term, but cultural influences in nursing. So that's our overview. We'll cover quite a bit. And then the last part I want to jump into, was your module. Okay, so I want to point out a couple of things. We already went through the student resources. When the syllabus says Canvas reading in the middle column, I don't know if everybody's figured this out yet, but Canvas reading is embedded in your module. So let's just do week 1, for example. Okay, here's your reading. Well, it goes to the weekly concepts. So every week you're going to get the first page that says weekly concepts. The next click on is your weekly reading. If your weekly reading includes a full chapter in one of the books, you're going to get a PowerPoint link. If it's just pages in a chapter, you're not going to get the full PowerPoint. Okay, you don't need the full PowerPoint. Like, for example, you have the PowerPoint here for Fundamentals Chapter 1 because you're asked to read the whole chapter. But in Med-Surg, you're only asked to read 1 page. So you don't have that PowerPoint down here. Does that make sense? You only have the PowerPoints for the full chapters. So when it says Canvas reading, okay, if you keep there's 4 Canvas reading pages in module 1, in week 1. Okay, so if you just keep clicking forward, here they are. Introduction to Community Nursing. This is part of your required reading. Okay, if you keep clicking through it, Levels of Healthcare Prevention. That's where your Canvas readings are, okay, embedded.
Yes, I've never had anything like that before.
know.
So at first I was confused.
I know,
But they
I
were
know.
helpful.
Yeah, they're actually excellent. They're actually
Should we take-
excellent.
Should we take notes on them like anything else? I did.
Sure.
I just didn't know if I was like, if it was
Yep.
something we'd be tested on or just something to like expand knowledge. Is there any difference or?
No, it's part of your weekly preparation. And every week you're going to get 2 things. And you're going to get a weekly announcement, and I copy and paste from the syllabus, let you know what your readings are, what the to-dos are. But you're going to get a weekly PowerPoint, which is a summary of all the concepts we're going to be covering. And you have a notes page, a notes attachment. And that's where you're going to be taking your notes on all the concepts from lecture.
I think we got one.
Yeah, you
You
did.
don't have to wait.
You've already got one from week 1. Yep, you have
Aha,
week,
yes, I did that. There's just
Yep.
so much. I'm just like my brain's.
yeah. But that's, I just wanted to point out, that's where you're gonna see when it says in your module, activities mean Canvas reading. Go ahead,
And
Kara.
that's the
Hey.
reading.
Go ahead, Kara.
I just want to let you know because I didn't want to interrupt earlier, but when I left out of class and came back, my phone, I don't know if it was my internet or what happened, but it kicked me out of the class and I had to log
Oh.
back in.
Okay, thanks for letting me know.
So I just don't want to
Okay.
interrupt.
No,
Thank
no
you.
worries. Yeah, no worries. Go
And the
ahead.
week, oh,
No, go ahead.
okay. Just to make sure I'm like understanding this correctly. So the week reading, like say week 1 reading, that is where we are going to read to prepare for the quizzes and exams,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But make sure you do, I mean, if you go back into your syllabus, it's all right here. So for like week 1, right? So you have your book reading, you have a full chapter in fundamentals, you have 1 page in your med-surg book. You got to get on and look at your Healthy People 2030 website. Okay. And then your Canvas reading. Yep. So that's your prep work for class. Does that make sense, Christian?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. All right, let's, there's a couple of assignments I want to mention. Okay. As I said, there's 3 assignments that are open now. Let's talk about the first one. It's in week 7. Okay, this is a group project. By the end of weeks 2 or 3, I'll send the groups. I'll send the groups with a specific infectious disease. It's a research paper you do together. I do try and do the best I can to try and do the groups within the same campuses, in case you're all on campus and you want to work on it. Okay, so I do my best. All right, but this is a group project. It's really self-explanatory. I send out an announcement with all the groups and the assigned infectious disease. Okay, and here's your rubric. Somebody does the introduction in history. Somebody does who's affected by the disease, how's it transmitted. Somebody does symptoms and pathology, and so on. Okay, so it's a group project. Everybody turns in, we'll get, as it gets closer, I'll remind you, but everybody turns in the same paper. So I know I'm going to have multiple copies of the same paper, but everybody has to turn it in. So once I assign you your groups in the next couple of weeks, if you want to get going working on that, somebody's got to take the lead, send out an email, whatever, to get the group together and see who wants to do what. Okay, but you can turn that in whenever. Okay, so the sooner you want to get working on that, the better. The other assignment I want to mention is your vulnerable populations assignment. It's due in week 10, and you have to go to the week that it's due to read about it. So this is an extension of what you did this week for your discussion question. Okay? You pick a vulnerable population in your community, in your own zip code, and you do a research project. It's a PowerPoint. Okay, and it explains all of it in here. Okay? Here's a sample of what you can do. If you want to move outside of this group, these are just suggested. A lot of people do it on homelessness in their community, teen pregnancy, substance abuse, mental illness, the variety. These are excellent, excellent projects. And it's a PowerPoint. And here's everything you need to address. Just look at the rubric. Population gives you the details. What are the health risks? Gives you some more details. What are the resources they have? This, whatever population you pick. What don't they have? What are the service gaps? Okay, so this is something that's open now. In this class, once we get to week 8, when we finish week 8, it gets really, really busy. So that's why I want to open up these, and I'll talk about that in 1 second after I mention this last project. Okay, the last project I want to mention that's open now, and it's a graded assignment. It's due in week 9. It's called your HESI Prep. This is something this week that you should download. Put it on your desktop. Okay, or print it out. I don't care. It's a Word document, so you can put it on your desktop and fill it out. This is your study guide. You're building your study guide for your HESI. Okay. Come on, come on. It is a list of topics that are covered on the HESI. Okay, I've spent a lot of time working on this. Okay, I haven't updated it for the January term, but if I have to add, I will. But these are all topics that are covered on your HESI. I don't know the questions, but I know the topics. I can look back after every group takes their HESI and see what they asked about. So this is the most current list I have. And as you'll see, a lot of these topics will cover within our concept teaching during the course, but there's a lot of things in here that are med-surg focused that you're going to have to look up, right? Whether you're looking up in your med-surg book, your fundamentals book, your maternity peds book, it's all in there. Okay, so like under home care, there's a lot of things we don't cover, but you have covered it in your geriatric class or covered it in your med-surg class. That's why I say this is a very med-surg, geriatric, adult, pediatric focused. Okay, like NG2 feedings and home care, falling in the home, a lot of geriatric stuff on here, med-surg stuff on here. So we're not going to cover every specific box on the left side. We're going to cover the concept it falls under, but you're going to have to do your own research. And if you look at this is something to save to your desktop or print out this week, because this is something you should be working on all term. You don't want to get to week 9 and have this document be blank. All right, it's going to be a long, tedious assignment. But if you keep up and fill this out as we cover each concept, by the time you get to week 9, it will just be an assignment you have to submit. Okay, so this is, you're building your study guide for HESI, is essentially what this is. All right, so this is a work in progress document.
Do we have to type it out? I know some classes requires us. If not, are we able to just take a picture of it and like submit it after we write it out or something?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
And remember, you're going to get out of this what you put into it. If you wait till week 9 and put in a sentence, you may not get a lot out of it. But if you're working on this throughout the term, I don't say every week, maybe every couple of weeks, fill it in, it's going to mean more. And think about, look at the directions. I get a lot of questions about this. Remember, exams in HESI are all about taking your knowledge and applying it to practice, right? Think of your CJ Sims. Think of your scenarios. Think of your case studies. Okay, it's all about applying it, right? So be thinking about application, right? So it's the nursing process. All right, so let's say you have somebody with maybe an anthrax. I'm just looking at the first box. Anthrax exposure, anthrax incubation. What do you need to know? Maybe what they present with, right? Think nursing process, what they present with. What might be the signs and symptoms? What might be the treatment? What might be protection? How do you evaluate? Okay, so think nursing process. All right, each topic will require you to use your critical thinking skills and how to apply the nursing process from assessment to evaluation. So again, you're going to get out of this what you put into it. Okay, I have some HESI preps that are humongous, 9, 10, 12 pages. Those are the students that typically do really well I always go back and look at HESI preps after I see HESI scores. And you can tell the students that have spent time on it and worked on it all term versus somebody that just threw it together at the last minute. Okay, so again, these are topics that are covered on the HESI. I know because I've seen it. I just don't know the questions. So be thinking as you get to each box, red triage. What do you think they're going to ask about red triage? Disaster communication. What do you think they're going to ask as far as applying it to a clinical situation? You have a disaster going on in the community. What's the chain of command? What's communication? I don't know the specific question, but I know they're asking a question about disaster communication. Okay, so that's what this Now, I have to go through the January HESI, and there may be some additional topics because not every HESI is the same. There may be some deleted topics. There may be some additional topics. I'm not going to require you to add on to this because this is the assignment as is for right now. But if there's additional topics that I want you to cover, because I saw them on the January HESI, I may send them out as an optional, right? For you to just look at. If you want to fill them out, great, but it's much more for your information and your knowledge. But I will not, since this is the assignment posted, that's where you're going to get graded on. But if I do find additional topics that aren't on this HESI prep, I'll send them to you. You can investigate them, research them, or you don't have to. It's up to you. I want to address Ryan's question. Ryan, announcements. I sent out, you asked about reviews. I sent out a master, everybody got it, right? A master copy.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
All right, a master copy of all the reviews for exams 1, 2, and 3. So these will take place in weeks 3 for exam 1, right? It will take place in week 6 for exam 2, and weeks 9 for exam 3. They're the week before. There's 3 of us. We'll have 3 live reviews. So you'll have the opportunity to attend 3 live reviews on the weeks before exams. You'll also, if you can't, we're trying to get it out early so you can maybe plan ahead. I know I'm 2 minutes over, so I'm trying to finish up here. You'll also get all the recordings. All right, all 3 recordings. So if you can't attend the live reviews, you'll get all the recordings. And Professor Kershaw does hers on Sunday night. Well, you guys don't really have to worry because you're not a Friday class, but I like to get her reviews out quickly because on Sunday nights, because I have a Monday class and they like to review hers. Okay. So that's Ryan. Does that answer your question about reviews?
Yep.
Okay.
Does. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. All right. So I'm trying to do my due diligence and we didn't take a break and it's 5:33, so I'm 3 minutes over. So let's finish up by, if anybody has any general questions that will benefit the whole group, we can stay on. If anybody has any specific questions, I'll stay on after. Does anybody have any burning questions that I didn't cover? And my second comment is, has this been helpful?
Yes.
Yes,
I know it's a lot of information. I know you're exhausted. I am too. But we got to grind through it. Okay? But the one thing I want you to know is that we are all in this together. And as a team, a really big team, actually, we all have to get across the finish line. You need this class to get going forward. So I will do whatever I can with each and every one of you to be successful. And I'm not just saying that. I walk the walk. I'm available for you guys whenever. And I mean that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
mean that sincerely. Okay.
Thank you, Professor.
You're very,
Thank
very
you.
welcome. Does anybody
Thank
have any
you.
burning questions?
I
No,
do.
ma'am.
Not
Is-
yet.
This
Could you
is
repeat what are the concepts going to be on for the quiz? 1, is it week?
Cicely, look in your week 1 module. It's all listed in there.
Okay, I thought it was different. I see it. I thought
No,
you
it's
said
all
something
in,
different.
no.
Okay, I
all
got
in
it.
there.
I got the module with me.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have a question that's going to benefit everyone? Otherwise, now I'm 5 minutes late. And so I want to excuse everybody and tell you to have a fantastic weekend.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you too. Thank you. Have a good
Thank you.
weekend.
After this kind of week, just try and,
Ugh.
what's the word? Try and
I don't know.
just
Not have a nervous breakdown.
Recharge. It's
And
no
recharge,
relaxing in nursing school.
just find a little pocket of time this weekend to recharge. That's it.
Oh.
And then get back to business.
Oh.
Thanks.
All right. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
guys. Have a good weekend. Reach out if you
Later.
reach out if you need anything. Okay.
Thank
And-
you.
Thanks.
And anybody that needs to stay on, I'm staying on. I'm just going to stop the recording.